In this series of videos, we will explore the essential components of Colorado's multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS. A well-designed, multi-tiered system of supports builds the collective capacity of a system, and it enables the implementation of key legislative priorities and local and state initiatives. When MTSS is implemented effectively, a responsive learning culture benefits every stakeholder: every student, every family, every staff member, and every community partner. Let's consider RTI and PBIS. Both of these frameworks have a strong history in Colorado and, when implemented effectively, can lead to improved student outcomes. We think of both as contributing to a multi-tiered system of supports. For many, RTI, or Response to Intervention, has been associated with supporting academic learning, although RTI is not exclusive to academics. And PBIS, or Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, as its name implies, has often represented a focus on behavioral supports within a system. MTSS in Colorado incorporates both academic and behavioral supports. And we have embedded the strengths and assets of RTI and PBIS within our organizational framework. The Colorado MTSS framework is a tiered approach to intervention, formally represented by a triangle in which the green represents the universal supports that all receive, the yellow represents the targeted support that some need, and the red that represents the intensive supports that a few will need. Our responsibility is to design systems that ensure universal success by building more options. In order to do so, multiple tiers will be required.
MTSS is about how we make sure we organize interventions and supports into a continuum. That continuum goes from what we do for all kids up to what we do for individual students who might have more challenges. What's really important about that continuum is that it's a layered set of interventions. This means that if kids are receiving Tier 1 or universal or prevention-based supports, things like positive acknowledgement or evidence-based academic instruction, some kids might need more than that, but that doesn't mean they don't get the Tier 1 stuff as well. So it's layered on.
In this segment, we'll take a closer look at the component of MTSS called Layered Continuum of Supports. A layered continuum of supports is defined as ensuring that every student receives equitable academic and behavioral support that is culturally responsive, matched to need, and developmentally appropriate through layers that increase in intensity from universal, every student, to targeted, some students, to intensive, few students.
MTSS, multi-tiered system support, is different from other initiatives in that there's really a focus on meeting the needs of all students. So instead of, in the past, we used to apply programs and hope that they would reach everyone's needs, and we're working with a diverse population nowadays, and in the same classroom. So within a classroom you could have 4 different grade levels, students actually achieving or performing at different grade levels. So given that, we really need to make sure that we're addressing the needs of all students, and a multi-tiered system support will provide interventions that most should benefit from, and then we need to consider those students who need something in addition, and we can adjust the programs, the interventions, based on the level of need. And then finally, there are students who will need significantly more supports.
One of the key fundamental features of a multi-tiered system of supports is something we call prevention. It's important to understand that prevention is a very comprehensive kind of catch-all. It's for all kids. It's for kids who have special talents. It's for kids who have risks. It's for kids with disabilities. It's for all kids. It's acknowledging kids' strengths and making sure they get the support to maximize those strengths.
We all know that our students don't come to us from some cookie cutter, pattern. They come to us with varying needs. You might have a student who really excels in math and can't read. And you might have a student who has amazing ideas but can't put them down on paper. So MTSS has to be in place because we have to be able to hit the needs of that student wherever they are. A lot of times that need that they have academically feeds into a behavioral concern, or vice versa. And you have to, again, have that system in place in order to support that child from where they are. And I think that's what MTSS does. It hits everything that that child needs versus pigeonholing them into one specific group. Well, they're not a reader, so we've got to really reinforce this, and then we don't do anything with the math, when in fact we should be excelling them in math.
Instead of thinking of the tiered approach to intervention as a two-dimensional triangle, it may be better to envision a layered continuum using this three-dimensional model. This emphasizes the layered and dynamic continuum of supports in which different levels of intervention can occur simultaneously. This layered continuum of supports is comprehensive, not just intended for students only, but for all who are associated as well: teachers, parents, administrators, and members of the community. MTSS recognizes that needs may be complex, that a student or family's needs may include elements from various tiers concurrently. Needs can also shift over time. For example, a student or family experiencing a crisis may need Tier 3 support, but this may be temporary. Supports are not necessarily remedial. For example, you might review school data on a group of students in accelerated math and see that intensive supports are needed to maintain high levels of growth. In this case, supports are aimed at a group of students, not just an individual. Or, for another example, within a reading group, you might find individual students who need targeted support in reading. While universal reading supports occur in the first tier, some kids will require more targeted support, and within that group, a few will need intensive supports in reading. All levels of supports are happening concurrently. So, in the layered continuum of supports, any student or group of students could receive supports from any or all tiers at any time.
In multi-tiered systems support, we do have these layered systems, and there are a variety of ways to increase the intensity for individual kids. And it could be that the kid gets 15 extra minutes of reading with a paraprofessional, but that's in addition to what they might be getting for their general core reading. It might be that it's not only in addition to the core reading, but it's a different lesson that the kid might be receiving. So it might be supplemental material that the kid gets as increasing the intensity of the instruction. As using the literacy example even further, it could be that the kid is going to receive something much more individualized just for him or her that's unique to him and her, but it's layered on top of what the kid is getting at the core. So what's really important about multi-tiered systems support on the academic side is that there are a variety of ways that you can increase the intensity, increase the frequency, increase the level of intervention that kids get.
Supports can vary within the continuum. Multiple alterable variables should be considered, including intensity, frequency, and duration. These can assist in creating, implementing, and evaluating supports. For example, intensity may be about the length of a session, the number of minutes, and/or it could be a change in the teacher-to-student ratio. Frequency could include the number of events in a certain period of time. Duration is the number of minutes times the number of sessions in a given period of time. All of these variables contribute to your decision-making.
That's also true on the behavior side. They're still going to get access to the general curriculum for behavior at the universal Tier 1 level. But some kids might need more. That might mean more minutes of social skills lesson. It might mean a different social skills lesson. It might mean a smaller group of kids receiving the social skills lesson. Or it might be that the kid carries around a little card that reminds him or her of what the social skills is that he or she has to work on as they move through their day. So it's very important to think about multi-tiered systems support as having a variety of ways of increasing the intensity. But the data that we have for the kids is going to drive the decision. It's not an automatic that if you go to Tier 2, you get more minutes. It might be an option. It might be more minutes plus something else. So it's really important to think about intensity as having a variety of dimensions to it.
We first use data to help determine the needs of a single student or a group of students or all students within a system. Then, supports can be layered to ensure success for every student within each layer. Those supports can be individualized, provided at the group, classroom, grade, or school-wide level, depending on the needs. Supports are also layered for the adults within the system. Students benefit from effective supports for families and educators. Data can inform who might need support and what type or intensity of support might be needed. To make some of those determinations, we use a problem-solving process which is specific to MTSS and includes 4 steps: defining the need with data, using that data to analyze the need, implementing plans as a result of the data analysis, and evaluating the outcomes of those plans. Through the problem-solving process, we identify the needs of every student. We believe that every student will benefit from a well-designed, layered continuum of supports. Students in preschool to those who are ready to graduate, students who are struggling to those who are excelling.
We spend a lot of time really trying to pull kids up and fill in gaps, and we oftentimes do not give the correct support to our GT kids, our kids who have abilities that are above and beyond grade level. We are just now finally getting to that place where we're able to, look at these students and see what are the needs. They're above grade level. What does that look like? Do they have different supports within the classroom? Is it that they leave the classroom for additional support? Does someone come in and provide that? So what does it look like? So we have to look at all the needs of every single individual child, and that's a daunting task. It's huge. And so I think MTSS just kind of brings us all back together and helps us to focus our attentions in the right direction.